This, though. We asked your colleague Scott Berry what he thought about the kind of modernization of baseball celebration. So he had a viral moment on Friday with his team with a bat flip and a very slow trot around the bases. One of your opponents, Alabama, has a home run chain like the Miami turnover chain with an Alabama A. Virginia Tech does this thing with a sledgehammer. What is your stance on bat flipping and celebrations and that kind of stuff in today's baseball? How do you feel about stuff like that?
You know, it doesn't bother me as long as it doesn't embarrass the opponent, so there's things, and I know pitchers come off and they fist pump, and I know guys watch home runs at times, and so I get that. But, some of the fun stuff in the dugout, it is exactly what you said. It's college baseball, and I tell our guys in the recruiting process, and when you go to pro baseball, it's a lot more business, it's a lot more seriousness, and, you should be able to relax and have some fun and do some of those type of things. So I'm not totally against it, like I said, as long as it doesn't show up the other player or the other team.
Coach, it feels like if you were going to do something like that in Starkville, it would be a strikeout chain more than anything else with the way your pitching staff has
I don't know who would put it on their neck. It'd be pretty heavy.
I talked about your baseball program in the offseason. I said, look, pitching is obviously going to be the strength. And I felt like I was pretty generous in my praise of your guys, but they have exceeded anything I could have imagined. For you as the coach, have they exceeded your expectations of them even?
It's been in a lot of ways. And, we've had our ups and downs a little bit. We've had to figure some things out. But I do think you got to tip your hat to Scott Foxhall and what he does with our pitching staff and the development piece that's happening here, because, a lot of these guys are coming in and there's just the growth is really high, and gaining velo and being able to pitch with velo is something big in the game right now, and you're seeing that with our guys. I mean, some of them are just pitching, they're pitching the best they have in their career. Parker Stinnett came off and said, Coach, that's the best inning I've ever pitched. Yeah, I think so. It may be our best inning this year too. Just, watching kids perform at a high level is a lot of fun to do.
You look at, your first weekend of the season and what you had penciled in for the weekend rotation. Obviously, it didn't happen in weekend one. This past weekend, you got to see all three of those guys throw extended innings, and they all threw pretty well. Let's start with Sarantola, because I think he was the guy everybody was watching. What did you make of his Saturday start?
Well, obviously, it was better. He just had to get going. And most of the times if he gets going in his starts, he's fine. I mean, it's obviously power stuff. It's upper 90s. It's the curveball with the best spin rate in the country. It's always about command and competitiveness for him out there on the mound, and I thought he showed that this weekend. And that was it was fun to watch him get into a groove and have some success.
And then with Will Bednar, obviously, you've been ramping him up, 1 inning, 2 innings. I think he threw 4 innings on Sunday, if I'm right. How do you feel about his trajectory right now, and what's his position going to be in the rotation? Is he going to be in the rotation this weekend?
Well, we haven't figured that out yet. We haven't figured that part out yet, but the positive is he's where he needs to be right now. So as he's come back and an inning, 2 innings, a bullpen, we feel like he's in a position now. If we want to start him, we can start him. If we want to bring him out of the bullpen, we can bring him out of the bullpen. So we feel like in his world we can we can use him in a lot of different ways.
You got a midweek game on early coming up this week with Samford. That's a pretty good program. Year in and year out, they contend for the NCAA tournament. What's the plan there? Is it still to stick with Houston Harding, or have you got another starter?
We're gonna start Houston. He's been so good in the midweek, and we put a lot of importance on these midweek games. The Southern Miss, the Louisiana Lafayette, the Samford. I mean, if you look up at the end of the year, these teams are winning their leagues. They're at the top of their leagues. They're winning 40 games. They're in regionals. So for us to show, hey man, we've played outside of our league and played good competition is one thing, and to do and play those teams, you need somebody like Houston Harding. So we're running him back out there, and hopefully a couple good bullpen arms and get another great start out of him. He's been really good the last couple weeks.
He really has. So we've talked so much about pitching. Your hitting this weekend was good too, and I'm starting to see the guys who started off slow, Josh Hatcher and Rowdy Jordan, they're adding points to the batting average. Logan Tanner starting to show the pop that he showed a little bit, and obviously in limited time last year. And even the young guys off the bench are finding a way to hit. Braylon Skinner was fun to watch on Friday night. Kite McDonald, it feels like he hits a double every time that he comes up. Yeah. How do you feel right now about your guys at the plate? As they say, as the weather warms up, so do the bats. Do you feel like that's happening with your program right now?
I think it is in a lot of ways. I think guys are starting to get a little bit comfortable. That first 2-3 weeks, we just seemed to face a power arm every day. So it was nice, this weekend even. We faced a guy on Saturday was 92, 94 with a heavy sinker. And, we've shown the ability to grind somebody out and win late, which we seem to keep doing. But I like where our hitters are out. Rowdy, we still, I keep telling Goat, we get Rowdy going, we get Hatch going, then I feel like we'll have a really complete offense because those guys have started a little slow. And they're such dynamic players because they're not only are they great hitters, they're both really good base runners. So when you got them out there, now you're causing some havoc on the bases, and you're getting a little bit out of them that way too. So, and they've done it every year, and I know they're going to, get going here. And like you said, they had a better week. They kind of added to their averages and had some better at bats.
Do you feel like your lineup is pretty much set except for what you want to do in left field? That's the only place in the past week where you've been changing guys out.
Yeah, in some ways, but I'd like to think that like you said, we got Skinner coming back. We got Tanner Leggett and Davis Mesh, and we're getting Kellum Clark back. So there's some other pieces that we're going to be adding in here, and I just don't think anybody has a set lineup for the most part. We probably have 4 or 5 guys that when you come to the park, you're probably going to expect to see. But in my world, I got to do a good job of getting some guys on the field and getting some guys experience because you never know in this COVID world when you could lose a guy or something like that. So for us to push and keep trying to play guys is huge. But, I think you saw, a pretty stable lineup for us this past couple of days. I mean, that group's played really well, and we've defended well, which is what I'd like to see.
First conference play starting up this weekend. Is this your first trip to Baton Rouge and Alex Box, coach, player, or any other way?
When I was at Indiana, I left, and last year Indiana opened it in Baton Rouge because I'd never played there. And so I said, man, I want to go play at LSU, and so I scheduled a trip, and then I wasn't there to make it. And so, this will be my first trip to Baton Rouge, and I'm looking forward to it. I probably shouldn't, anybody going in to play at Baton Rouge, but and I'm a big college baseball junkie too, and I just, seeing where some of the, this is one of the top programs in the country, and they got a really good team, and it'll be a fun weekend for our guys.
I feel like if you want to take a minute, any MSU fan you meet can tell you plenty about Alex Box and what's happened down there through the years with Mississippi State. Some good times and some not so good ones, as you can imagine. How do you feel about your team going into conference play? Do you feel like you're starting to hit on some cylinders right now?
I do. I feel like, we have been able to, obviously we've pitched a handful of guys and we've had a chance to play a handful of guys, and we've kind of had to figure ourselves out in some ways. It hasn't been an easy preseason. I think we've been successful, but every game hadn't been a blowout. So we've had to really fight, scratch, and I think we're tested a little bit. And we got some experience too. So I think some of our guys, as they go in there, it'll be a really good matchup. I mean, I think this year in the SEC, it don't matter who you are, where you're at, and you are having to fight, because it's just so competitive week in and week out. And it'll be the same this weekend. But I like our group. I like how we match up. We're still trying to scout them and see and, how we'll pitch. But it'll be a good weekend.
What when you go into a SEC series, obviously you want to win the games, but what's something that you look for from your team to say, okay, if I see these things, I know that we're on the right path?
I think and I go back to this all the time. It's pitch and defend. Just that you'll be in every game if you pitch and defend and give yourself a chance on the road. Usually when we don't play well, like on the road, you don't throw strikes, you don't make plays. That kind of snowballs against you. It happened to us a couple of years ago when we went to Arkansas. We didn't play the right way, and those are things that I look for as we're going. You can't give them extra outs in that ballpark, and give them extra base runners. The home run. We gave up 2 runs this weekend, both solo jacks. And if you give up a couple solo jacks, you're all right. It's just if you have a couple guys on every time is when it's and somebody didn't have to earn it. So I think us making sure that everything LSU gets, they have to earn.
Well, Coach, if you see any wild animals on the field this weekend, that's not a good sign down there in LSU. I'll just go ahead and make you aware of that. So just if you see a possum or a nutria come out of nowhere, I got Tanner Allen and Brad Cumbus, man. They'll take care of that for me. We won't worry about any superstitions when you play Mississippi State. It's hard to be a live animal and run in front of those two guys. So they'll take them down.
They'll take them down,
Coach.
I tell you.
We appreciate it. Coach Chris Lemonis, Mississippi State baseball.